You know when you're looking at a text, and you just get the feeling there's a secret code hidden right there in plain sight, a message that you can feel is incredibly profound, but the key to unlocking it is just out of reach. Well, that is exactly what we are diving into today. We're taking a close look at the mysterious, disjointed letters that open many chapters of the Quran, and we're going to focus specifically on the combination that starts the 7th chapter, Al-Araf.
All right, so here's our game plan for unpacking this enigma. First, we're going to lay out the core mystery of these letters themselves. Then we'll get into the two main ways scholars have tried to make sense of them, through divinely handed down knowledge versus what we can figure out with our own minds. We are going to delve into the absolutely fascinating and esoteric science of letters. And then we'll tie it all together by looking at how this connects to the teachings of the Ahl Bayt and what all of this really means for how we understand the Quran.
So let's get right to it. The central puzzle, the letters Aleph, Lam, Mim, Sad. They sit right there at the very beginning of the 7th chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Araf. What on earth are they doing there, and what could they possibly mean?
These are what's known as the huruf muqatta, or the disjointed letters. And they're not just a one-off thing. They show up at the start of 29 chapters of the Quran. For centuries, their real meaning has been one of the most intense debates out there. And what's really interesting is how they're recited. They aren't read as a single word, but as individual letters. Alif, Lam, Mim, Sad.
And that right there, that is the heart of the mystery. Are we looking at simple abbreviations, some kind of divine shorthand with a straightforward meaning? Or are we standing at the edge of something much, much bigger? A profound, divine secret hidden within the very fabric of the Quran's letters.
So, right out of the gate, two major theories pop up. One scholar, Afrasiab, he basically argued that these letters are what they are. Distinct, separate units. Don't even try to combine them. But there's another, much more prominent view, and it's the one that's really central to our source material. This view says that these letters are actually the building blocks of something incredibly powerful, God's greatest name, the Isma Azam, which is believed to hold just immense spiritual power.
Now, this debate over letters, it's not just some linguistic puzzle. It actually cracks open a much bigger, more fundamental tension within Islamic scholarship itself. It's the classic push and pull between two ways of knowing: knowledge that's passed down from a divine source and knowledge that we figure out using our own brains.
So, the first approach is called naql. The best way to think about it is like a precious family recipe passed down perfectly through generations. It's knowledge that comes straight from a divine source, and it's been meticulously transmitted through a chain of people you can trust. In this case, the Prophet Muhammad and his family, who have kept the original meaning completely pure.
And on the other side, you have aql. Now, this is more like a master chef who uses their own genius, their own understanding of flavors and techniques to invent a brand new dish. It's all about using our own intellect, our logic, our ability to analyze, to dig in and try to understand the divine texts for ourselves. Now, the source material we're looking at, it takes a very, very clear position on this. Its entire argument is built on the foundation of this famous and absolutely pivotal saying of the Prophet Muhammad, known as the Hadith of the Two Weighty Things. The argument being made is that you simply cannot understand the Quran by itself. It insists that the guidance of the Ahl Bayt, the Prophet's family, is the inseparable, essential key to unlocking its real meaning.
So, from this perspective, our intellect, our aql, is kind of like a flashlight in a huge dark cave. It's super useful, right? It can show you the ground right in front of your feet. But if you want to navigate the whole cave system safely, if you want to understand the map of the place, you need more than just a flashlight. You need a guide. And that guide is the naql, the transmitted knowledge. Relying on intellect alone, well, that's how you get lost in the dark.
And all of this leads us into a truly fascinating, deeply esoteric field of knowledge called Ilm al-Huruf, which translates to the science of divine letters. And this, right here, is where the investigation gets seriously profound.
Okay, let's be really clear. We are not talking about numerology here or some kind of simple code breaking. Ilm al-Huruf is described as a deep, spiritual science. The idea is that every single letter in the Quran is like a portal to a divine truth, a cosmic reality. It's about understanding the very essence of language itself as a reflection of the divine, a knowledge that was given by God, not something discovered by people.
Here's a little detail that really makes you pause for a second. Get this, if you take all of the disjointed letters from all 29 chapters where they show up and you remove every single duplicate, you are left with exactly 78 unique letters.
Is that just a coincidence, or is it a hint that we're dealing with a system that is incredibly deliberate and complex?
And this is where it all clicks into place. The central idea is that these 78 letters are the ingredients for God's greatest name. But the recipe, the exact formula for how to combine them, that's a divine secret, a sacred trust known only to the Prophet Muhammad and his chosen successors.
And look, this isn't some fringe theory we're talking about. This is a deep, rich scholarly tradition. We're talking about major intellectual heavyweights like Allama Tabatabai in his massive commentary on the Quran and Allama Majlisi in his encyclopedic collection of narrations. They dedicated serious thought and analysis to this exact topic, documenting the traditions that point to this hidden science.
This is such a critical point. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of knowledge. Think about it like a brilliant professor. They wouldn't give the exact same lecture to a class of first-year students in a seminar of PhD candidates, right? The idea is that the imams would reveal different layers of meaning to different people, tailored specifically to what their minds and souls were capable of comprehending.
So if this knowledge is so profound, so divinely protected, who holds the key? This brings us to our fourth section, where we really explore the unique and exclusive role of the imams of the Ahlul Bayt in understanding these deep mysteries.
To really get a sense of the role of the imams, as it's presented in the source, you have to look at narrations like this one. The idea being communicated here is that the imams possess such a lofty and unique spiritual station that they are the only ones who can truly inherit, protect, and transmit the deepest secrets of the Quran. This is a pretty mind-bending concept, actually. The source suggests that in the same way our physical eyes can't possibly comprehend the full essence of God, our limited human intellect can't fully grasp the true spiritual reality of the imams. They are the guardians of the Quran's inner world, and their true nature is beyond what we can normally perceive. And this brings us to a really beautiful and powerful concept, the difference between the silent Quran, the physical book you hold in your hands, and the speaking Quran. The imams are given this title, Qur'ani Natiq, which means they are the living, breathing embodiment of the Quran's true, complete meaning. The book itself is silent. They are the ones who give it its voice.
This verse is seen as a direct promise from God Himself to clarify the Quran's meaning. So, how is that promise fulfilled, according to this perspective? It's fulfilled through the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, the speaking Quran, who have been given the divine responsibility and ability to make the hidden truths of the text clear for all of humanity.
Okay, so after this really deep dive into the world of disjointed letters, from linguistics all the way to esoteric science, what's the final takeaway? Let's bring all the threads together and see where the scholarly quest ultimately leads us.
As we've seen, there are just so many potential layers of meaning here. Are they abbreviations for divine names? Are they the components of God's greatest name? Keys to a secret science? Or maybe even a divine challenge to all of humanity? Every single one of these possibilities points to a reality far deeper than what's on the surface.
But one thing is made crystal clear. This is not a code you can crack with a computer. People have tried. They've suggested, for example, that the letter Kaf, which opens Surah Kaf, is just the most common letter in that chapter. But that whole theory just completely falls apart when you look at other letters like Sad in Surah Sad. The message is pretty clear. The meaning is metaphysical, not mathematical.
So in the end, this whole quest doesn't wrap up with a neat little definition for everyone to memorize. Instead, it points us in a direction. The ultimate conclusion is one of submission, of recognizing that the true, complete knowledge of Aleph, Lam, Mim, Sad rests with God and His chosen representatives, the Ahlul Bayt. The journey doesn't end with an answer, it ends with finding the right guide.
And so, we'll leave you with this final question to think about. If every single letter of the Quran is a potential doorway to a deeper, divine reality, how does that completely change the way we approach and read the text? It transforms it from just a book of rules and stories into a vast, infinite ocean of meaning, just waiting to be explored with the proper guidance. And that, maybe, is the greatest secret of all.